Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best of breed multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, we're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey everyone, Shaune Corbett here with Real Estate Success DFW. Thank you for joining us. We have Linda Bale. Linda, how are you?
I'm good, Shaune. How are you today?
I am well above average. That's probably a good spot for me. Yeah.
Good to hear that.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've been looking forward actually to this interview. I talked with your husband briefly, and he actually reached out to me and we connected because there's some real benefit opportunities for both of us by having a conversation. And a lot of it has to do with your background and things that you want to share with other agents. So I wanted to do a podcast with you and create that opportunity now. So thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having us, or having me, I should say.
Sure. What I always like to start with is, what is your background? Because I doubt you woke up one day and said, I want to start selling houses. Very few people do that unless it's in their family. So how did you get into real estate? Because here's what's really unique about you is you have not been doing it for very long, which is incredible. So that really adds to, I know, your story. But go ahead.
My background is retail. I grew up all through school working for retailers. The Limited was who I got my start with. I worked for Nordstrom's, Bullets, Wilshire. And when I met my husband, we moved all over the country. So it was very easy for me to get a job, whatever city that we lived in. So I think the background of the retail and customer service, and then my moving experience. We moved 8 states into 17 homes, so I was like a professional mover. And I think a lot of people, I just closed on a house on Friday with clients. They lived in the same house for 37 years. Didn't know anything about moving. So that leans to my experience and helps me with my clients.
Yeah, and I can see that. So retail, there's several things you're going to gain from that, right? One is you're not afraid to work because you got to create that energy to step up and do something that we all are just born to do. So you got to have that energy and you're not afraid to work. We were just talking about, you had stuff going on yesterday, Sunday, and you had several things happening and that you wanted, and you were talking about working on getting a listing and working on different things, but you got to be ready to go when those opportunities come. Retail, sometimes it's slow, and sometimes it's busy. You got to be ready to rock and roll. And that flexibility of doing this anywhere in the U.S. is really valuable too.
It's just deeply about having relationships with people, like whether they're the people that work for you or the people that come into the stores, and being able to talk to various different types of people. So it's, everything in life is driven by relationships. So it leans itself, and some of the best realtors I know have retail backgrounds.
How long have you been in real estate? When did you decide one day, you know what, I'm gonna go get a real estate license? You talked about moving. Was that a catalyst?
Right. So yeah, it was. We moved, we lived in Dallas for many years and moved to California. And in 2014, we moved back. And I knew that I wanted to do another career. My kids were in college, and we came back to Dallas, and I didn't want to go work retail because my hours, why real estate hours are crazy, the more I can control them versus working in a department store or something like that. And I kind of thought, well, what could I go do? And I thought, I'm going to go sell real estate because I, just moving back, and I've worked with some wonderful real estate agents over the years and some not so good. So I thought I could do this. So I went to Champions Real Estate School here in Dallas and got my license.
Very nice. I think many people here in Dallas know Champions. I've definitely been to their campus a number of times. So they have several campuses, but I've done a couple of classes there. So you said good and bad. What makes your good agents that you liked working with good, and what made the bad agents bad?
Oh, I think it's the level of how they engage with you is, making them a partner with you. One of the houses that we bought, the agents really didn't do anything for me. I like to try to think about what people's expectations are and answer the questions before they become questions. And I kept finding myself being the one that was calling, saying, well, when are we doing this? And how are we doing this? And instead of them explaining it to me.
It's good.
They
Good
just
point.
weren't engaged.
Yeah, what about good agents? So the ones that are ahead of you and never waiting for the next step?
Yeah, and they're looking at the whole picture. It's not just me moving. It's I'm moving a family. When I moved back to Dallas this time, I was moving elderly parents that health had failed, and you need an advocate in your corner. And again, it's about the relationship, and you have to be involved. I know a lot of my clients, I spend so much time with them that when it's over, it's like, oh wow, I'm not going to see you this weekend, because you do become part of their life because you're building a relationship. It's more than just sticking a sign on someone's house or, opening doors for someone.
I'll say this. I realize most people in their life probably at some point worked retail, right? I
Probably.
I don't know of many that have made that transition from retail into real estate. I mean, you mentioned you know of others, but that seems like a unique proposition to me. I mean, I worked at Papa John's Pizza when I went to college, right? I mean, that's the most, let me think, I'm sure I've worked retail places. I have. I've sold different things out of stores and stuff like that way back, even before college. But there is a relevance there. I just wonder how many of all of the people that we talk with, I bet it's actually pretty common that they have that in their background somewhere, that they've had that
You have to be
experience.
comfortable having conversations with strangers
Yeah.
and getting them to trust you, because that's what this is about. It's about trust. So it's like, when you walk into a department store and someone says, can I help you? Well, no, that's the worst question someone can ask you, because you're going to say no.
Yeah.
You have to engage someone.
I tell people the same example when they do open houses. I said, it's kind of like when you go into a retail store and you ask for help and they tell you, do you need any help or whatever? And I said, we need to make a connection with our audience, right? It's not, ask questions for no's. We want to ask,
Exactly.
have
It's
some
sales
type of
101.
engagement to start. Like I tell people, how did you find the best house in the neighborhood or something, something kind of a little crazy, but more interesting. So what do you think?
Oh, I totally agree with that, because it's retail sales 101. You never ask a yes or no question, because then the conversation ends. And the goal is to engage the client. So I spend most of my time not even talking about the house. There's one woman that comes totally into showing a really nice house out in Old McKinney. And she just didn't want to have anything to do with me, but she was spending a lot of time in the kitchen. So we started talking, and I asked her, do you like to cook? And we went into this whole conversation about cooking. And I start talking about cooking shows, because I do like to cook. And there was a book called Heat, Salt, Fat, Acid. And it was a documentary on Netflix. And I said, did you ever watch that? And you just have to go in and find something that you can engage them with and talk to them about anything but the house and make that relationship. Then they relax and let their guard down, and you can move forward.
I love that. I always try to always focus on some level of motivation and why we're here. And yeah, the house is a place for us to have a conversation, but
Right.
that house, they're not going to buy it. In
Very
99%
seldom.
chance, they're not going to buy it. But
Right.
I kind of think about open houses as like Zillow, but you meet in person,
Right.
which is a whole lot stronger than just doing it over the phone and trying to schedule an appointment.
Plus, with us, we do a lot of marketing on our open houses. And my husband, my business partner, as we mentioned at the beginning, his job on Saturday and Sunday mornings when I'm doing open houses is to go put our signs up. And our signs are branded to us. And it's not so much about, people use GPS to, get to the open house. It's about the impressions in the neighborhood. Other people in the neighborhood sees, well, that Bale Real Estate Group really has a lot of business. They have all these signs in the neighborhood. So then I usually say to people, did you see the signs, or how did you come in today? You just, see it on Zillow, or, just to find out again what their motivation is. Like, why are you out looking at houses? But that's usually after they've been in and I've had some kind of a conversation with them.
That's great. I've actually not heard the signs for open houses put in that way because it creates more opportunities for you to have more of your name out there. And we drive neighborhoods and you'll recognize certain names more often
Right.
because we do. You and I are having to, we're attuned to seeing real estate open house signs and you start seeing the name of the group. I always think, I never thought about it that sense, but it should be pretty obvious, right? The purpose of putting out signs is to give direction to your house, and you might put them out the day before to maximize that exposure, but it's also giving you more real estate to put your name out in a particular local location. I don't know why it never really dawned on me that part of it, but yes, it
Yeah,
does.
it
It
goes
works.
to our farming strategy, especially if it's in a neighborhood that we are farming, because someone that's out driving their kids to soccer practice, maybe they aren't going to sell their house for 6 months or 2 years, but they'll start to think, wow, that Bale Real Estate Group, I saw them. Just will remember the sign. And how many times do they come in and out of the neighborhood on a Saturday morning?
Sure.
How many times have they seen my sign? So we find that that works for us.
Well, we're going to come back to farming in a little bit, but I do want to shift us to AI. And, I've heard it said that either you learn AI or you're going to get beat by someone who is learning AI in kind of a
Exactly.
general sense. So how has that affected your business and what are you making use of in that space?
Well, we're learning obviously we started with the Chat GPT and, asking it questions and having help you write property descriptions and emails and that type of thing. But now when you talk to, the whole, how people find you as a real estate agent, it's not just you Google someone that, has worked for people for many years. It's having people search who is the best real estate agent in a particular neighborhood, or who's the best listing agent, and so you have to know specific words and how to get answered to that, because it's not going to be the same as your Google reviews to get you noticed, because more people are putting questions into it. I recently had a client that we sold a house to. She was from California, and she asked every question she had, whether it was about the inspector I had or the foundation company we were using, who's the best in this area and why are they good? And she put everything she did into ChatGPT, and whatever that told her, that's how she went. Now, is that always right? No, but we're going to find more and more. That's what people are going to find resources.
Interesting. So she was actually using ChatGPT to double check you in a sense where
Yeah,
she's
double check
verifying your
us and double
information.
check who we were using
Yeah.
and everything like that too. But, it's a great tool, but it's still, you have to make sure that it still is you kind of thing. You can't be totally dependent on it, but it'll be interesting to see how it grows.
Yeah. You still have to have an organic aspect. I've heard that before. I know that the thought process is, will AI replace real estate agents? Now, you and
No,
I don't see the possibility of that today, but there are going to be certain aspects of real estate that will be occupied in the AI space, whether we like it or not. Now, are they going to be showing them houses or giving them the norms on how to work through and negotiate a contract? Probably, certainly not subjectively, but
right.
objectively, it's only going to be facts and figures, which doesn't make negotiation work. You have to have a conversation and you have to know where we're going and how we're going to get there. And it skips a lot of those parts and nuances. So it won't replace this entirely, I would say at least in the next 10 years. But beyond that,
No,
I don't know.
it's still about relationships, and buying a home or selling a home. There's still an emotional response to it. Homes sell for price, condition, and location. But the value of a home is only the value that someone puts on it, especially, right now where we're looking at the market, people are taking price decreases. If you just run comps on a house, it doesn't tell you the true picture of the house. So it's still a relationship business, and there's emotions involved.
For sure. No, I appreciate you pointing that out. Let's talk about, because there's been a lot of big changes, technology and COVID and all these things have made mass changes in a lot of different industries. We're no different. We had the
Right.
explosion in values, we had the low interest rates. All that ended, about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, depending on where you marker it. What are you seeing in the current market for agents out there kind of dealing with what's happening between buyers and sellers?
It's always hard when you transition into a market. Even a couple of years ago, when we transitioned into getting multiple offers, how long did it take some clients to learn that you have to make an offer over ask to get it? And then how did it appraise? So now we still have sellers that think that, oh, my neighbor down the street got their house sold for, 20% higher than they listed for it. Well, that was a couple of years ago. And now we're seeing price decreases. So there's a saying, and I don't know who they are, but they say, sellers think it's still 2022 and buyers think it's 2008 and the housing market's falling apart. So how do you make that shift with people? And it's hard. But what I like about this market, and people might not agree with me, is I don't like a fast market where you have to say all offers are due by 5 o'clock today. That's too stressful for the buyers. And you should be able to go look at a house, go home, sleep on it, talk it over, and go back the next day and take a look at it and have some selection. So even though the market has more houses on, there's more listings right now, it's not, it's just kind of going back to a normal market. And that's what people aren't used to. So it's really trying to explain that to people and setting their expectations. And you have to price the house right. You just have to price the house right in this market.
Yeah, expectations is most of it, right? When we have the conversation with the buyer, and like you said, they have a perspective of what they think they should be getting a massive deal on everything that's out there. And unfortunately, sellers certainly don't feel that way. I mean,
No,
they're hanging pretty hard on where it was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And none of them have really, we just not had a massive drop in prices. And I knew this, going into the fall where the interest rate started ticking up at that point and it had gone up fast enough to slow that market way down. Everyone was expecting a massive market crash in real estate. And I said,
right,
real estate doesn't really work that way. And I knew it wouldn't crash. I just knew it. And
right,
it never did. The appreciation stopped, but it never crashed. So sellers were still very sticky in their view and what their house is worth. And then buyers just didn't feel like it was worth the effort to, go in and try to offer 10, 15% off. And it wouldn't have worked anyway. We
right,
got to get all of our expectations in a line. I like that you said that, whatever side you're working on. And we're finding it, especially in listings, we're looking at market data, but it makes it really hard. I've got a house I listed for 650,000. The exact same house sold 2 months ago for 695, and I have zero interest.
right.
It's
That's what's hard right now.
Yeah. Like, am I
There's just
wrong? How did I come up? What happened? It's very
no
frustrating.
one has, no one seems to have any sense of urgency. We have buyers that we're working with now that I was out over the weekend with, and we probably looked at 20 homes. Their goal is to buy a home before school starts. Well, it's July 14th.
Yeah.
We need to get going. And they're
And
like,
then
well,
they
we'll think
made no
about it tonight. And I
decision
go,
on 20 houses,
yeah,
and they made no decision.
no. And they're like, well, we like this one and we like this one, but no one wants to pull the plug. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, amazing. You had mentioned earlier about farming.
Mhm.
And I think you're referring to like renting a tractor and getting some hay, or
Yeah. Yeah. My last name's Bale. We do a lot of baling hay.
I'm trying to make that connection. Let's talk about farming. What does farming look like for you? And do you make that an important part of your business, or do you recommend others to do the same?
When I first learned about farming, the broker that I worked for, she always said it was good, but it's about consistency. And farming is expensive and you have to put the time in to do it. It's not an investment you can make and think that you're going to do it in 60 days or 90 days. It's a good year in. So you need to be planned out and know what your expenses are and if you're going to be able to handle that expense. But there's nothing better than standing in an open house in a neighborhood you're farming and someone comes in with, you do a really nice brochure that has market data in it once a month. And it's a beautiful brochure. And when someone walks in and says, I want to talk to you about listing my house, that's the biggest payoff and the greatest feeling.
I love that. So you mentioned brochures. What
Mhm.
other forms and what you're referring to is, let's say you pick a neighborhood and every house in the neighborhood gets your brochure on market data for the prior month or whatever,
Correct.
bar you said. So you're sending that out each month. What other forms of farming have you utilized to make that's worked for you? Do you do postcards? Do you do newsletters? What else?
We do postcards, we do just listed, we do just sold, we do the market data. And then we also have a drip campaign because we get their emails. And then we also do some calling as well. And then what we talked about a little bit before, when we do the open houses, it's putting door hangers on the houses. It's putting the signs out for the weekend so people see our name. And that helps drive the traffic to the house and it helps drive traffic to our website and to us. So in several of the neighborhoods that we farm, we're starting to do quite well now in getting listing appointments.
Okay. When you say neighborhood, let's talk about proximity, right? Is
Mhm.
it your neighborhood, or is it a particular neighborhood you really connect with? And do you do neighboring neighborhoods? Do you do as much as a zip code? Kind of what's your limitation?
No, we don't do a zip code. Right now, we're in about 19 neighborhoods in North Dallas. And it's neighborhoods that I have a connection with as far as it falls into the price point, the average price point that we sell. I used to live in one of these neighborhoods and was the PTA president down there, so I have a bit of name recognition that helps. And I
19 is a
think that
big
that's
number. I don't think the average agent's going to be able to go for 19. They might pick two or three neighborhoods, and you may have a reason, right? So you may have a school that touches several of these neighborhoods. You're the PTA
right,
president, so
right,
it makes it a little easier to say, hey, when I was PTA president of that elementary school, you have that immediate connection. And people
right,
have to leverage what their comfort space and what their niche is. Yours is
right.
obviously going to be specific to you, but if I'm doing it, I feel like 19 is a pretty big number. I would think,
Yeah, and we didn't start off with 19. We
sure.
started off, with one, and then we waited. It's all about it's a numbers driven business when you look at that. So it's what's the rate of how many houses have sold in that neighborhood, and what's the average length of time someone lives in their house? How many other agents
Yeah.
are in that neighborhood? Because there are some very successful agents in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and they, have a particular neighborhood that they sell a lot of. So you kind of look at that data, because I'm not going to go in a neighborhood that someone's got, selling 30 or 40% of the houses, because they have the recognition in there. And I don't want to go up against that. So you look at, the rate of return on the houses when you're doing that.
I love that you pointed that out. I heard that a long time ago in a training. If you've got one particular agent that's has a very large market share, it's an uphill battle. I mean, you're going to have to
Yeah.
choose to take on that battle or not.
Yeah.
But she's got all the houses, she knows all the neighbors, she has all the influence, and you're going to be working really hard uphill to try to shake or knock that off. So maybe you either become a partner and you let her be the name and you get to work some of it for money, or you need to find another neighborhood.
Right, there's a lot of these master plan communities, they have social events and, you get agents that sponsor those. So they do get quite a following in there. But not to say that, someone might be number one, but you might need a number two in there too. So it depends on how the numbers play out.
Sure. Yeah. And number two is a good place to be in several. If you can be
Exactly.
in a number of neighborhoods, number two, you're probably doing okay.
Right, right.
Um,
But again, you can't start off with 19. You have to grow it slowly and get a rate of return on your investment.
sure. What do you have to say about relationships when it comes to real estate and how that impacts your business?
Relationships are everything, because people have to learn to trust you, and no matter what you do in life, whether it's the relationships with your family or your business associates and your clients, that's all you really have is relationships. And you have to understand how you work those. And one of my biggest referral sources that I get is a good friend of ours that I've never sold or bought him a house. He's lived in the same house, but he's my biggest source of business. And it's about our relationship. He trusts me, and the people he refers me to, they trust me now too. So that's how you grow your business. It's about the relationships.
I love that. Most of us, we want to focus on clients that we've worked with, but that may or may not be your best source of opportunity. And it could
No,
be
it's about,
someone that's
they
never
talk.
even worked with you.
Right, right. One day I'll probably sell their house when they decide to move, but at this point, but it's amazing the amount of business. One of the people he's referred me to, I've sold his house. I bought his son a house. I sold his son's house. I bought the daughter a house. And this last week he said to me, Linda, I'm sorry, I don't have any more children to give you.
Yeah, that's
Um,
okay.
but,
And
and plus it's a great, just, that's what I like about this business. It's the relationships I have. That's how you grow it, but that's the best part of it. I meet so many wonderful people, and some of our best clients have become very dear friends, and that's another win-win.
sure. Yeah, you can create more than just that. So if someone needs
Mhm.
something, relationships are good with the client and good for Sphere and getting referrals. But what about, contractors, right? What about people in your team? And I say team as in your title, your lender, your inspector, all the different people in that space as well. Has that really been a part of your business that people can call you and rely on you for all those type of things?
Yes, definitely. Several years ago, my daughter was actually moving, and we found a mover on an app. And he was just so lovely and warm that now he's probably moved 20 people for us this year. We have a wonderful contractor that we use. And again, that's all relationship driven. And I know that if I call my contractor to come out and look at a house, he'll be there.
Yeah.
And so that's rewarding for my clients. I had clients that moved here from out of town on Friday, gave them the key after we got funding Friday night, and they lost the key. And the movers were there Saturday morning. And I had a locksmith there in 15 minutes because it was a locksmith that we used before. My clients were overwhelmed because they don't know anybody here except me. Relationships are important.
This is an undervalued benefit, right? That I don't think agents really unappreciate, especially agents that sell real estate. I understand the ones that don't, they don't have relationships with contractors and stuff like that, but to have someone that you can reach out to, are going to deliver.
Right.
I extrapolate that with my, lender and my title. I don't want to hear anything about the transactions the way I do things. I only want to hear problems. Then I have to get involved and I'll take care of it, but I don't need all the different steps going. I know what earnest money is. I know what option money is. I know what,
Right.
when our periods end. I got all that set up. I don't need reminders for all those things. But when I got a problem, you're going to call me. I want to know that they're going to take care of my client from start to finish and the feedback's going to be good. But it's incredibly valuable with, especially in the contractors, if I need something done and I know it's going to be a fair price, I want to know who I can call. And I have several because I've flipped over 100 houses here in Dallas
Oh,
Fort
wow.
Worth.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have people I can call and they'll jump and take care of anything I need. But I just think about the strength and leverage I have in those relationships makes me look like a winner, right, to the buyers and sellers I work with.
Oh,
So,
no, it's so important. I have clients looking at a property and it's 2 acres and there's a pond on it. And the husband loves the property. The wife can't stand the property because of this pond. So I took pictures of it yesterday and I sent it to a landscape company that I know. And he was very honest this morning and said, Linda, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And it's just said, there's too much problems with it. It's not in good shape. And he said, you don't even want to get your clients involved in that. And I trust that. So that's leverage now that I go back to my clients with, because I trust this man and they trust me because they don't know.
sure.
So, all the relationships are good, especially with your lenders and the title company too, because the title company is the last person that they're closing with. And if they have a bad experience at title, it's going to be a reflection on me. And I don't want that. So everyone on the team I have to have that trust with them that I know that they're doing a great job.
Yeah. In some sense, they're representing you. They didn't bring you a title company. They didn't bring you an inspector. So it's on you to deliver good quality people.
Right. And it's my reputation. So it's important. So even when you're a solo agent, you still have a team because you have lenders and title company and inspectors. And then with us, we have all types of different contractors.
Sure. The last thing I wanted to kind of cover is I know feel like you've got a pretty high level of understanding as dealing with listings. And I assume that goes beyond putting it in the MLS. So what is it about listings that you feel really competent in handling and selling houses?
I think that we go in and within a lot of time before the listing because it's getting the house ready. We sold a house in a specific neighborhood a couple of years ago, and a gentleman came in and asked me to come over to list the house, and I didn't get the listing. But we walked through the house, and I said, you're going to have to do some painting, you're going to have to do some touch up. And he didn't want to spend the money to do that, but he wanted to price his house at the highest price possible. And I didn't get the listing. Another agent got it. I watched him take 2 price decreases in a market where we sold the same house down the street for over asking price. He didn't want to do the work. So I think what we do going in and helping them decide, where should you spend your money? Should you do some recarpeting? Should you do some repainting? And you need to declutter because people go through a house and if it's messy or your cabinets aren't organized, then they'll think, well, they didn't take care of the furnace if this is what their kitchen looks like. So we do a lot of work prior to that I don't think a lot of agents would take the time to do that.
I think experience can create expectations for what buyers would expect to see and what they were
Right.
willing to pay for. Without that experience, you're just guessing as if you were just the seller. Like you wouldn't know any
Right.
different. But knowing what the expectation is for a buyer that's walking is invaluable. And I think that is a competitive advantage in getting listings.
We live in a world where everyone watches HGTV and all these shows on selling houses on television. and they all look like model homes. And the people coming through the front door have to be able to think of themselves in this house, that they're
Yep.
not visiting someone else's house. How does this look for me? So depersonalizing the house. You know, I was in a house yesterday and they were grandparents and they must have had 100 pictures of their children up.
Yeah.
But my clients were like, I feel like I'm intruding.
Yes. Yeah. You feel like you're in someone else's house. I mean,
Right.
you know,
And that's hard.
emotionally.
Yeah, but that's where this has to become a business decision and your sellers have to get their emotions. You know, yes, they have memories and everything in this home, but now you're selling your home and gonna make memories somewhere else and people have to come in now and see themselves here.
I love it, Linda. Thank you for doing this with me. A lot of really good feedback and advice for other agents out there.
Thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So how do we find you? How would we find you?
Well, you can look at our website, balerealestategroup.com. And we're on Instagram, Bale Real Estate. Always fun. And any agents that, you know, we're only as good as our next person. So I'm always willing to help other people or give advice, or I really enjoy working for EXP. I think that they do a great job of helping their agents. Yeah, we enjoy what we do.
In other words, you're easy to find. Anyone
Easy
want
to
to find
find.
you? You're not hiding. You're not a secret agent.
No, I'm not a secret agent.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And for those
Thanks,
out there
Shaune.
who want more information with Linda, I can get you her contact. Will be included in our YouTube channel. And for those that have not subscribed, please subscribe. And I'll continue to have good quality interviews just like the one with Linda Bale. Until next time, have a high performance week, and I appreciate you. That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success DFW. Have a high performance week.